Meeting is called to order at 10:34 according to my watch. And we'll start with item number 1, public comment on non-agenda items. Public?
None.
All right. Approval of the agenda.
Can't do that. We don't have our quorum.
We'll have a quorum, we can approve the agenda. Review of meeting notes.
You guys have to do a quorum. It's only 16 and you have over 8.
Okay. So, we approve the agenda.
So let's move to approve the agenda. Motion. So move, second, all right. Everybody in favor? Agenda approved. So review of meeting notes of July 23rd.
A motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Abstention, one abstention. All right.
Who's the exception?
Ginny. Okay, information items, president update. Well, you all know tomorrow we will have welcome day, and in the afternoon we're going to have a short convocation, right? Julie's coming. Well, good morning and welcome. That's all right. We will start with a color guard, and I think Dr. Oliver will be chairing that part. We'll have a color guard, and then we'll have Pledge of Allegiance, and then after that I will introduce Board of Trustees President Belinda Brown to give a welcome, followed by Julie Kiotis as President of the Faculty Association, followed by Faculty Senate Valerie Foster, then Classified Senate would be represented by Jeffrey Wojcik, then Management Association with Joe Futner, and then we will have Irving Morales, and then I will share some of my thoughts with the college community, and I will focus mostly on what we did during the past year, the successes, and then I will turn towards the future and the challenges that we have to face. I will just mention the factual things that we know so far, and we will see how we can, as a community, we will need to move forward to address the challenges that we'll be facing. So that will be the main gist of what I will get across, and then after that there will be, my understanding is there will be some kind of surprise that will end up with 3 people getting free lunches. So I don't know how that will happen, but I hear there is a possibility of 3 free lunches being given away. All right, and then there'll be a trailer of
Yes.
a trailer about Flex Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll call it a day.
Like a video trailer?
Oh, yeah.
A video trailer, oh yes, a video trailer, yes.
Attractions.
Many people in this room have participated in that trailer, are movie stars, right? So, all right.
We're also,
See, you
we're
guys thought we
also
were just doing
finalizing
meetings.
a print booklet.
Oh, what?
We're also finalizing a print booklet.
Oh, I forgot that print
Yeah.
booklet, yes.
So it'll have all new employees.
Mhm.
We got a lot of pictures, but not everybody showed up to get their pictures taken. So we'll list everybody that's new to the
Right.
organization. And then also list student achievements and,
Yes.
faculty and staff accolades.
My understanding is those who are not happy with the pictures, they will be given an opportunity for a reshoot for free.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so item number 2, BP AP 3540, sexual assaults on campus.
I got that one.
All right.
So this is from Crystal. This is a really important administrative procedure and board policy that we need to have approved to meet legal standards. So it's been brought here several times, and Crystal asked that I gently nudge each of the groups to make sure they bring this back to their constituents so that by the next college council, we can approve this particular policy and AP, the policy to go to the board and the AP to be put in on the website. If anybody has any questions, I'm open, but the real emphasis is just making sure we get feedback from each of the constituent shared governance groups.
All right. Next item is integrated planning. You are on again.
I shouldn't have sat down.
I will be excusing myself for about 10 minutes, and I'm going to ask Joe to chair the meeting until I get back. Okay?
Joe, do I have permission to proceed?
Please do.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So I'll start with a brief overview. We've talked a lot about the accreditation recommendations, and one of the biggest recommendations that we had to address was connecting program review, planning, and resource allocations. This isn't something that's news to PCC. We've been talking about this long before the accreditors came, and even long before I was here. So we are moving quickly to make sure that we have this process and that we develop a process that will actually lead to a real thorough understanding of the budget process and the planning process across the campus, and a resource allocation and prioritization process where everybody feels that their concerns and their requests were heard. We're never going to have enough money to make sure that everybody's requests are addressed, but at least that everybody feels that there was a common process and even playing field and that their voices were heard. So if you look in your packets, and I have to thank PR for making it a lot prettier than I originally had it. So if you were part of the integrated planning group, this is still the same document. It just looks a lot prettier. I'm going to just go over in general the integrated planning process, allow for any questions, and then ask that what I need from each of the groups to get this accomplished. So as we start, we're going to start by moving left to right. The yellow box here is a program review annual update. One of the common themes when we worked with faculty, staff, and the administration was that program review could not fuel the budget because program review was not done on an annual basis. It's not really a good way to prioritize if Julie did the psychology program review 4 years ago and Joe did the theater arts program review last year. It's not an even playing field. One is fed with the most recent data, whereas the other one is older. So we developed, or are developing and proposing through this integrated planning process, an annual update. This will be a short process, a few questions that go over how well your program is doing, the ability to plan for your program moving forward, and then your requests. Basically asking for faculty, staff, and any budgetary requests related to equipment, supplies, etc. All of it will be tied together, and the goal is simplicity. And I do want to point out that if there is a cost center, there will be a program annual update assigned to it. So Rajen's not here right now, but Rajen obviously has a cost center for the President's Office, so there will be an annual update for the President's Office. Everybody will be going through the same process, nobody's special. I mean, we're all special, but not in this case. Once those are done, they're going to go to the supervising managers or the deans. So I'll switch back and forth, but in this case, I'll use maybe an administrative services unit. So, you know, Jeff fills out the program review for telecommunications, and he puts in his request, and it's going to go to his supervising manager, who is Matthew Count. Now, Matthew has more than just Jeff's area. He has the help desk area, and he has other elements of IT that he has to deal with. So what Matt will be doing is using a rubric. We'll be assessing the needs of all these different areas as requested, and each request will be prioritized based on the global needs and the understanding of how each of these departments' needs need to be met. Now, the component that's been added to this is that supervising manager, in this case Matt, would then meet as a group with all the people who filled out the program review annual update to explain why the priorities ended the way they did and to allow for feedback, because it may be that Matt didn't understand what Jeff was really asking for, and when Jeff is able to explain it, it may rise up. So through that process, the deans or supervising managers will create the first draft of priorities, yes.
So I have a question. That, I think what I heard you say is that even classified staff will be included in that consultation process?
Well, the way that it's going to work, yes, but the way that it's going to work is in the yellow box, there should be very collaborative processes. We really don't want one person filling out the annual update. We want the entire program or department or unit to be working together on it. Jeff should be talking with other people. In your case, if it's geology as an example, they should be speaking with you because you run the lab and you know what the lab needs are. So that would happen there.
So how is that going to be communicated to the writers?
It's communicated in, we will be developing a handbook for how to do this, but also because this is the first time through, I will be availing myself in my office to make sure, and I've heard that the IEC leadership will be interested in doing this as well, at going one-on-one to each of the areas and helping them with this process, because it is going to be a very quick timeline, and people will need the support.
So I just bring that up because in the past when we've done this, it hasn't filtered all the way down to classified staff. So obviously I'm here to represent classified. That's just why I bring that
Absolutely.
up.
And in some cases, it will be a classified staff member filling it out. In some cases, not so much if it's an academic program. So there needs to be that communication to make sure the needs are met. What this box is, though, is meeting with the people who actually filled it out, because they're the representative of that program. Once the dean or supervising manager has a draft prioritization, it then goes into two different routes. The green route is the standard faculty prioritization of new hires. We haven't changed that, we haven't touched that. That's the same administrative procedure and board policy. I believe it's 7120 or 7210, one or the other. And that will continue as it always has. Everything else is going to go to the executive committee. The executive committee is Rajan's committee with his senior vice presidents and vice presidents and executive directors. They will review things from more of a college global standpoint, and they will ask the managers to come in and to describe what these needs are so that they can prioritize, yes.
What if the deans and the faculty don't see eye to eye?
They may not, and I'm glad you asked that question because it's an important question to address. They may not, but what you can take solace in is this is not cutting things off the list. If Julie, faculty member of psychology, says that what we need is 30 computers for a lab, that request will stay on the list. Now, you may disagree with your dean on where it should be prioritized, and your first place that you can try to justify it is the yellow. Your second place you can try to justify it is in this meeting with the blue. You can try to sell it. But that's not your only venue, and I'll explain what I mean to that when we get to the gray boxes. So the executive committee will do the review, and they will come up with an initial draft of priorities for the entire college. That way, all the facilities requests, all the technology requests, all of the equipment requests will all be reviewed and will be prioritized from a college standpoint, because we know that there's different needs across different divisions, schools, etc. I will say that the deans ask similar questions. Well, how do we know anyone's going to look at this? Because this is our process. And if it is not on this request sheet, it's not going to get funded. That's the way it is. If you don't turn in an annual update, you can't get staff, you can't get equipment. Once the yes?
I'd like to go back to what Deborah was asking.
Yes.
I think just the process for completing program review, if we can identify maybe just 3 guiding principles that the manager over the area has at least made an opportunity for everyone to have a chance to participate.
Mm-hmm.
I know reality is sometimes we all get busy and the manager ends up doing the program review just to get it done. And we don't have time to collaborate, or we assign it to a person who's willing to do it, and then they are rushing to get it done and they're not getting input from others.
Well,
So I think we should just have some guiding principles.
and there will be,
Okay.
but that's definitely something the IEC will work on as they describe the processes. We want to make sure that we keep each committee in its own realm. So once the executive committee does the the initial review. It then goes to the shared governance reviews. And this is the next point that addresses your question, Julie. It is, because what it's gonna be is there's gonna
I
be,
sat on these committees, we make no decisions in these meetings, they're rubber stamp committees, here's the budget. Now let's tell you what the budget is, and now we're moving on.
well, then you'll need to talk to your representatives about how they approach
I
those.
represent us there.
Then you will represent well, I'm sure. But the point is that there'll be this annual budget retreat. Now, originally, we talked about going to each of the committees and having facilities look at facilities, tech look at tech. But one of the concepts that came back as we were discussing with the integrated planning team is that it made more sense for all 4 of the committees, academic computing, facilities, PMP, and BRAC, to all meet together, because each of them have expertise in different areas, and it's important that they share that in the global prioritization of what's in the college. They will look at the draft initial recommendations in terms of priorities, and they will make recommendations for changes as they see fit. Those changes will come here to College Council, and College Council will discuss and vote on them and make official recommendations to the president for any changes that they think are warranted.
Now, there's going to be a rubric used at each one of these levels, correct, to show the decision-making process, and then those rankings will be made public, right, for transparency, so.
We will show the process all the way through.
Right, so then maybe, Julie, that starts to get a little bit, maybe that will start to change, like, because I think a lot of the times when we hear of decisions being made, and it feels like it was a rubber stamp thing, it's because we didn't have some sort of visual of what the process was. So maybe if we're increasing the transparency at that level, maybe perhaps that might help. So maybe to go back to that issue.
So once that recommendation gets made, Rajan with his executive team will finalize the budget, and then in this purple box, there will be campus-wide budget forums. Essentially, the final budget will be presented to the campus to show the full transparency, to show exactly what got funded, what didn't, to show what the revenue sources are coming in, to show where the expenditures are going out, or planned expenditures, I should say. And this forum will serve for 2 purposes. The first purpose will be to allow us to really get a sense that we all understand the budget, the budgeting process, and the results of the budgeting process. The second part, though, is based on that feedback, because this is going to be happening in late spring. We can then use feedback we get from those forums to improve the process in future years. So as an example, Julie, if at the end of this process you still feel like there was something missing, through those budget forums and through the reviews with the different committees, we can start to make adjustments to the process to make sure that those concerns are addressed. We know very well that this right here is great in theory. There's going to be bumps along the road. And the idea is that every year we identify those bumps and we try to smooth them out the best we can. And that if we're all on the same page as a group saying, you know what, our goal is to have this be simpler and better every year, then we'll feel a little bit better about the process, because we'll know that this isn't something this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to stay forever. After that college budget, there's processes, then it goes to the Board of Trustees through their standard subcommittee and final process.
Russ, I may have missed it, what you may have already spoken about it, but at the budget presentations, is there a formal mechanism for feedback or response?
Yes, we will develop formal mechanisms. I actually really like President Verdian's style when he does his forums to allow people this open dialogue. I think that really breeds some good communication, so I hope there's some of that too. But part of integrated planning is having a system of evaluation, so each of the committees involved will be asked about the process and ways it can be improved, and then that will be fed into changes as we move forward. Dr. Miller.
So one of the things, one of the mistakes that I think we made last year in putting the budget together is we asked every manager to put together their wish list from A to Z. And I think one of the improvements that we'll make this year and going forward is to have these budget workshops and put the full picture on the table in terms of what the state situation is, the college situation is, and just how much money is available. And then we will say to the managers and to faculty and staff, recognizing the overall picture,
What are your needs?
what are your absolute priority needs? So that instead of trying to have to shuffle through, you know, the list of 20 items that we know can't do it, we'll be shuffling through 2 or 3 of their highest priorities. So they'll start with the current budget, they'll add realistically. So to the degree that we can establish good communication, we can establish mutual respect and trust of one another, the process will be made easier.
And thank you, Bob, because that's an important point that we've seen go awry at other colleges. If this becomes one of those things where people in every program are requesting $3 or $4 million worth of items, they're never going to get them, and then they just feel like, oh, I only got $20,000 worth of stuff, and I asked for $4 million. Instead of thinking, wow, I got $20,000 worth of my priority needs that I needed addressed. So people are free to request what they want, but I think the information piece is the important piece, is making sure people realize that this is the construct of the budget, this is where we see it going in the future, so that they don't feel like they wasted time requesting things that may not be fundable. So, I'll just give a good example. Dental, it'd be really great to have them on a ground floor. It'd give them better access so that they could have their patients coming in, but that's probably a $10 or $12 million endeavor. That's probably not gonna happen. Every year, how much do we get for facilities, Bob, about, on a good year?
In terms of scheduled maintenance or what have you?
Yeah.
Oh, we might get, on a very, very good year, we might get $2 million, give or take. But normally, in many years past, we haven't gotten anything. The other part of this is this overall notion of reallocation of resources, if need be. We may have been spending money doing this for the last umpteen years, but maybe the outputs are not necessarily what we need, so you can consider the reallocation of existing resources into something that might help us with our completion goals or help us through the goals we have to. That's another thing that we'll emphasize throughout these workshops.
So that's the process in a nutshell. Absolutely.
One thing. There is a planning culture that we need to inculcate on the campus. That culture needs to permeate everything that we do. It is going to ultimately be the responsibility of the divisions, of the centers, of the programs to understand that everything that we're doing would be predicated upon the college mission, the college goals, the strategic plan. You mentioned about the divisions of the programs and so on. I mean, having a wish list costing $20 million or so. But if we create that culture on campus where the divisions would look at everything that they look at their requests and prioritize them and move forward what the division considers their top 5, 6 priorities. And these things keep going up and up and up, and when it reaches bodies like the college coordinating council, or it reaches the various assistant superintendents or vice presidents level and so on, right? And it reaches the ultimate committee that puts together that budget, you have more or less addressed everything. Because what is coming, if you just ask a program to send your requests forward without that request having been vetted by the division, you will get all that list that you get. You find yourself with a $25 million wish list. Right? You take the case of English. English comes out of currently we have a School of Humanities and Social Sciences. English is one of all the other programs in that school. It is the responsibility, once we establish that culture on campus, that School of Humanities and Social Sciences will be submitting the top 5, 6 priorities for that school. That will get into the bigger pool that comes that is at the next level for instruction, at the next level for student services, at the next level for business and so on. It's the matter of inculcating that culture on campus. Julie.
We'll talk about it another time.
Okay, all right.
That's not possible. It's a nice fantasy.
Well,
That
ultimately,
school will never make a
no,
decision.
no. What? No,
Okay,
hold on.
all right.
I picked the wrong example.
Okay.
I picked the wrong example.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
What I said was that. Come on,
Okay,
this
I'm
is
glad we agree.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say is that that's what once we inculcate that planning model, that planning culture on campus, all right. This is what it will happen. This is what will happen. Because the priorities that will be coming of whatever school or division, right? Those priorities will have been vetted by the leaders of that area. It's not going to be the dean's priorities. It's the school's priorities with the participation of everybody. And that will happen, should be happening all over. And ultimately, right, that will reach the top. I mean, it's a very simple process, but it's just a matter of us subscribing to that culture. Joe.
We have, you say 4 or 5 things might rise up.
Well, I don't know. I just made that up. I mean, I'm not.
Because, I mean, we have many more than 4 or 5 things that are essential.
Yeah.
I mean, equipment, maintenance,
Yeah.
TAs, you know, go down the list. So we prioritize those, but then we say, okay, we're just not gonna maintain equipment this year because that didn't.
Well, it would
rise
be
up.
by each section. There would be your section for your equipment,
Mhm.
your supplies, your
That's what
facilities.
prioritize within each line.
Within each line, Adam, you know that's the model that has been very, very successful. This is nothing new. This is a model that has been practiced in those schools that are being referred to as model planning and budget schools, right? Where planning drives budget. I mean, there's no rocket science involved here. Right? It's just a matter of the institution subscribing to that kind of culture, right?
So what I'm asking everybody to do is to take this to their constituent groups. Now, the planning process is a 10+1 in terms of academic and professional matters, and the Senate exec has already agreed to put it on their agenda for a first read on September 14th and for a vote on September 28th.
A second read on September 28th.
Second read with a vote.
Well, it'll be an action item.
Yeah,
That's up to
as an action item. On September 28th. And it's very important that we follow that same timeline amongst the other groups to make sure that we vet this through the shared governance areas and we get this approved by the end of September.
Brian, can you tie that back to the accreditation, why it's very important accreditation?
Essentially, we have to have a report October 2016 to the ACCJC saying how we've met the recommendation. Well, the recommendation we're addressing right now is that we have an integrated planning process and that we use it and that it works and that it's used for budgeting. If we are going to use it for budgeting for the 16-17 fiscal year, which begins next July, we need to start in fall. And we actually need to start in October. If we don't start the planning process in October, we will miss the window. Now, that being said, we're going to be aggressively looking for feedback to make sure that we have this process in a manner that we feel fits our culture and will be successful here at PCC. We will be posting this on the website. It will have a feedback link similar to what we had for the self-evaluation so that people can provide feedback. There will be feedback through each of the constituency groups before it comes back here. And I will volunteer to come to any of the meetings that you'd like me to attend to discuss this and answer questions in detail.
And if I can just quickly follow up and just say that, as Ryan said 10 minutes ago, it won't be perfect the first go-around.
No.
We know that, but it is absolutely essential that we get through the cycle this year.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the accreditation report, we've got to get done. And then we will improve it as time goes by. So we would ask everybody's patience up and down the college as we go through this first cycle, recognizing it'll have its moments and, you know, it'll be a little difficult.
Right.
For 2 or 3 years probably before it finally settles in.
What Bob is saying is very important in the sense that we need to be evaluating our processes. So this is the first go around. It will be evaluated at the end of the year, and the necessary tweaks will be made to it. And this will be going on. This is an ongoing process every year. It is not going to be a process that will ever stop. It has to happen. Right? We do evaluate our students all along, right? Yes. Oh,
Any questions from the group in terms of getting this through? Any concerns about bringing this to your groups, the Management Association Classified Senate?
So in order to meet the timeline that you want, I already made my agenda, but I'll have to modify it. I don't mind putting this on here, but do you want to come to our meeting on
Sure.
Wednesday and do like a quick
which
presentation
day?
on this? It's Wednesday, the 2nd.
Yeah, just send me the information. I will be there.
Okay.
I will drop everything to make sure I'm there.
I'm texting.
there you go. Your meeting is taken care of. You don't need an agenda anymore.
Ah, you're
The
funny.
expectation is that we're gonna finalize this at a college council meeting in early October?
No, we're gonna have to figure out how to do it timeline-wise with College Council, possibly having a special meeting, because we need this to be.
So because we didn't have a management association meeting scheduled till October, we'll schedule one earlier, we just need to know how early we need to schedule it.
Well, if you want to follow along the Senate's timeline, I think that would be the latest date. You would want it by September 20th.
20th this week?
20th, yeah, we're gonna do first read 14, second read 28.
28.
Mhm. Because I know that's kind of
But then
the,
we also asked that we had asked that it be online,
Mhm.
so that way people have
Right.
access to it and can look at it.
and it will be posted online by the 1st.
Yeah.
And where will it be posted?
There's going to be an integrated planning page, which will be linked on the main shared governance page of the college. It will have all of the documents and the diagrams with explanations of what happens at every single point. So the next thing I want to review, and I'll do this more quickly, because I don't need a dialogue on it. I just need to let you know where it's at, because this is more information item. There's two sheets here. One that says college planning process, and then one that looks like this that says strategic plan 2015-18. Now, does anybody know what our strategic plan is? No, because we don't have one.
Good answer.
Thank you.
I love Stephanie's in the room. She's got me. We're good. We have this educational master plan that has almost 100 items on it. If we were to use that to prioritize, we would run into a situation where we don't know what's a higher priority: student success, which is area A, or sustainability, which I believe is L. Now, who here thinks sustainability trumps student success? Okay, then what we really need to do is we need to narrow down the planning so that when we prioritize, you don't have people saying, well, I met the educational master plan. Well, yes, you did, but you didn't meet the element that we really need to focus on right now. And so what we need to develop is what's called a strategic plan. In this case, what we're proposing is a 3-year strategic plan that basically says over the next 3 years, these are going to be our priorities. They're based on the educational master plan, they come from the educational master plan, but it's choosing items within the educational master plan that we think are of the highest priority the next couple of years. Now, as we go through this process, we will most likely have PNP developing draft strategic plans as we go forward. In this case, we didn't have the timeline to start it from the ground up, so we're going to have to work a little in reverse. And what we have here is a draft strategic plan to take to the groups for discussion, for feedback, and for possible recommended changes that address what we feel are the highest priority needs of the college right now. You'll see that the first 3 are in the areas of student success, equity, and access. I don't think anyone will disagree that those are important areas. You may have some comments on the wording or things that might be missing, and we're expecting that. This is an iterative process. I fully expect that what comes back to College Council will not be this sheet without the draft watermark on it. It will have changes. On the back is institutional effectiveness, which is most directly related to what I know our president's #1 objective is, which is meeting the accreditation recommendations and getting us off probation. And then the last one is community engagement, which I think given some of what we've seen over the past few years is something we need to work on to make sure that the community feels that actively supporting them and the students that come to us. Yes, Stephanie, you had a question.
Yeah, just a question in terms of something you just said. You said how it needs to go to P&P and then something about us taking it to our groups. Which is gonna come first? Would you like us to take this draft to our groups, or do you want us to wait until it goes to P&P first? What process are you?
I think given the first read, second read process that most groups have in Senate, it's fine to do them simultaneously. So you can first read this, and then we can come back with revisions from planning and priorities at the second read, and we'll have it with track changes so that people don't have to read the whole document. They just have to know what the changes were from the first time they read it. Does everybody understand kind of why we need this? Okay. So we're hoping for the same process, because in terms of getting the groups to approve it or recommend changes by the time we come back to this group at the end of September, because the annual update in terms of planning will say, who do I pick on now? I'll pick on Julie now. For HR's annual update, for their plans will be based on these areas of the strategic plan. So, if you look at community engagement, I'll pick a better one because I know it for sure. Institutional effectiveness. Some of the recommendations are directly related to HR. They're related to evaluations and things like that. So I'm sure that Julie's area will have a plan for how to address that, and that can be in their annual update. And then if they need resources, they can say, we need resources to address this plan, which addresses this strategic planning item.
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Absolutely.
Do you want us, when we're agendizing these in our groups, do you want this to go through as a package with the integrated planning model? Or, because obviously they tie together, we can't create the rubrics and the prioritizations if we don't have the strategic plan. So do you want us to do this after, or what are you asking?
I'd like them to happen at the same time. How your group wants to handle them, either one by one or as a pair, is up to you and what you think the culture of your group is. So I know some groups like to really get into detail, in which case you may want to handle it separately. But as long as everybody's okay with the idea, I mean, you could bring it forward in tandem, but we do need some sort of set of guidelines for prioritizing, and we do need an integrated planning process.
So Ryan, I have a question, and you're not gonna like it, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyways. How does all of this relate to the revisions to the EMP that never went through shared governance last year? Because actually, the Classified Senate is very interested in one of the changes that we proposed that still isn't incorporated into the document. So where do we stand with that?
That's a separate process, and we are going to be doing the evaluation of the educational master plan, and that's going to be data driven, and it's going to start with the initial recommendations that have already been brought through by the groups who did the work the year previous. So that is the starting point, and we'll be working with that with P&P over the fall semester to make sure that we get to that. The way that works in is the educational master plan feeds the strategic plan. Now, right now, this strategic plan is based on that. Even though it's a 3-year, you annually look at it just to make sure that you're not missing something. So if there's a change to item A3.1, and A3.1 is under the strategic plan area 1B, then people will know that alignment-wise, the change that you're talking about is incorporated into the strategic plan.
Questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan.
Sorry I gave you guys so much
Just
work.
accreditation update.
Hi, everybody. Hello. I've been working this summer with many of you who are sitting here on the accreditation task force.
Oh, yes, sure.
And we've met 3 times over the summer, and I think it's gone fairly well. Stephanie and I have been co-leading this, and we're going to present together right now. And also, Stephanie and Chris Pallone and I met a couple of days ago and worked out some additional changes to the work groups and what we're thinking. Just to go over it briefly, and I'll be very brief. In many cases, we already have a group that's working on the recommendation for that area, such as for integrated planning. Brian already has a group that's been doing that, and we want to honor the work of those groups. And for the evaluation instruments, we do have Julie's working with the MA and classified, and there's a separate group working with the FA to make sure that the SLOs get into the documents. The next one is on ethics, and that is one where we do need faculty, students, manager representation, and I know that the groups will be going out and requesting that, and I'll be sending this out to everybody in the next couple of days. And we also have one on professional development, and there is a committee already that will be addressing that. We don't have a student on that committee, and it would be really helpful to have a student there since it is an accreditation recommendation. And governance, we did create, as many of you were there, a group last year that worked, that met twice and came up with a number of suggestions. So we want to honor that group and have that group, many of those people continue. But we did not, Jordan attended one meeting, Jordan Orozco, and we really would like students on that committee too. So I'll be emailing this to Irving. For campus climate and collegial communication, we thought we would start with the presidents of each group, and when we need to create subgroups, we'll be doing that. Another area where we do need assistance is on an evaluation group. And that has overlap in many different areas where we're evaluating our planning processes, evaluating our committee structures. It goes into all the different areas, but we do need students, managers, and faculty on that. For student affairs, Cynthia's going to be leading that one, but since there's so much student affairs that obviously affects students and our services for students, we would very much like students to be on there, as well as classified staff. And that's it for the major recommendations. Yes.
Can I ask you to briefly go over, since some of the union leaders are here, the one for HR that's going to look at the evaluations, and there was a request to actually have a classified co-chair. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. We're required to have SLO responsibility in people's evaluation documents where it's appropriate. Not all classified staff would be evaluated on student learning outcomes. But in the cases where it would be appropriate, people working in the Learning Assistance Center, for example, we need to have that language into the evaluation documents. So, for example, with the FA, we're working with Julie and a group of FA officers on getting that language in. So for the classified, I did send Deborah an email asking for someone from the unions to participate with Julie. Julie, I believe, is leading this. So we do need to separate this between the classified and the unions where appropriate. And then the MA is also working with Julie on their evaluation instrument. So yes, we do need people. I sent that email to you, and I believe you forwarded it, but we do need union representation from the classified side.
Bob?
Once upon a time in the SLO world, they also talked about SSOs, student support outcomes, or whatever. Do the SSOs relate to this as well? So we have to really, it needs to be in everybody's evaluation, every employee, up and down the side. So, and that's all working condition oriented, so it has to be negotiated with each unit.
So I'm on a site team for college, and Dr. Scott is as well. And I was reading, last night I was actually reading through how they were handling it. And so they have identified student learning outcomes and student service outcomes. And then they have language that talks about the evaluation of the employee based on which one is applicable. So that might be
Some places also have business administrative outcomes.
There are administrative outcomes at AUOs as well, and so.
So we need to make sure
And we worked with all of the admin units 2 years ago to make sure that they developed outcomes that were appropriate based on these certain categories, staying with the student services, and so now we just have to plug in.
Right.
Like, yeah, so some of that work's already been completed.
Yeah.
Other questions for Dr. Scott?
I do have a couple other things I did want to say. I totally agree with you with the student, with the service outcomes. And in a lot of cases, that would be a survey of students to find out student satisfaction, to find out if students can complete, for example, a FAFSA without having to go back over and over. So that's really important. And it could be that people are just participating in the survey and then helping to make improvements in their areas.
It's the same
So
thing, I mean,
we're
that's-
asking for
yeah.
participation,
Yeah.
is the key there. We also received a letter from ACCJC about 3 weeks ago telling us that we're under enhanced monitoring for lack of SLO participation. And so that is a primary area for us to work on this fall with primarily the faculty, but all the groups. And we're going to have to make sure that we have a much, much higher compliance. We have to go from under 60% to over 90%. And everyone is going to need to participate and be part of the solution with this. So in terms of the groups, we don't have a recommendation specifically for SLOs, but this letter in many ways serves as that. And so we know that we don't have very many faculty on the Learning Assessment Committee. We need more faculty. And also in Cynthia's area, we should have classified staff supporting that for the service outcomes. And I think that's it. I don't know if anybody has any more questions. I want to get this out to the task force before I distribute it to another committee. And then, we also discussed the timeline, and Stephanie will cover that.
Oh, sure. So we also need to set up clear times. There's a couple of things we have to do. One, we have to make sure that the actual work is getting done so that we can report on it. And then we have to actually write the report that shows that we've met the deficiencies. And so we'll be sending out communications talking about the clear timeline. Specifically, all of these working groups will be asked to develop a plan of action and to report that out to us in September with a first draft written by October, second draft in November. It's just a draft, it's okay. And then that gives us an opportunity to provide feedback. Let us know what's happened so far. These are our goals. And then it gives us an opportunity to provide feedback. So that we can actually have a full first draft of the actual report before we leave for winter break, so that we can identify and prioritize the work that still needs to be done for the following semester. So we will communicate those out to everyone, including the leads for each one of these groups.
And they're looking for not a very long report. It doesn't have to be that long. They're looking for evidence to show that we've met the recommendation. So if we have the new evaluation documents to attach, that will be good.
Okay.
For Julie.
Questions for Dr. Scott? Kelly, you fine with that? You sure? We'll be counting a lot on you. We'll be counting on all the students to meet these outcomes.
No pressure.
No? You'll be all right with it? Okay. Because you'll be the one taking the test. See, you'll be the one taking the test. And all they have to do is make sure that they know what are the outcomes that you will have to have met. So you will be taking the test, and then they will use the result to say that you met. Yes, your colleague behind is happy, is smiling. All right. Number 4, Ryan, you're back on.
I'm back on, but this is an easy one. I won't even get up.
Oh, you won't even get up. Okay.
So the last couple of meetings, I've shown you guys the issues we've had with the differences in the membership that's posted on the web, the membership that's posted on documents, and then the membership of the subcommittees that actually show up and are considered members. So what I'm going to be asking each standing committee to do is, as part of their work in fall, review their membership, determine if it's appropriate, and then bring changes back to the College Council for approval. I'll use myself as an example. I'm the Associate Vice President of Strategic Planning, and I am not on the Planning and Priorities Committee. Whoops. Oops. And nor can I be, because the defined membership would not have me on it. So that may be something.
Is that a personal problem?
That is a personal problem. I'll be sitting quietly in those meetings, and I don't want to do that. So we will be we'll be asking each of those groups to look at the constituency makeup and make recommendations, and then we can have an official process for College Council reviewing what the membership of each standing committee should be and bringing it for approval.
Now, the other thing that Ryan will also be doing is he's going to have an inventory of all the committees we have on this campus. There are committees that have never met, but yet they have a web page. And they've never met in the past. I don't know how many years they've never met. then we have 3-4 committees overseeing exactly the same thing. Right? So we will have inventory of all those committees, and the college council will be working with everybody to clean it. So we need to, whether we like it, we have 2 16-week semesters. Right? There's not much time available for faculty and staff to attend all those committees. Right? So, once Ryan has identified all those committees and their meeting dates and times, we as an institution will have to make a decision. What are we going to do with those committees? Are we keeping all of them, or are we eliminating them, centralizing those committees? Does it make sense to have 3 committees or 4 committees for technology? You tell me. Committee 1 looks at cameras, Committee 2 looks at computers, Committee 3 looks at
Typewriters.
typewriters. Yeah. So we were laughing, but yet we have 3 committees. All right? Yes.
And maybe Ryan can answer this, that, so my vice president does all committee appointments. So what does this make her job look like? Are we going forward with the current committee structure and appointing that to that while we're in review, or?
Nothing has changed right now. Everything is going on, but we will be looking at that, and once it goes through the proper approval process and we make the changes, the community, the campus community will learn what the changes are. Right? Maybe some committees will just disappear. Right? Do we have a campus safety committee? Do we have other committees that deal with safety? And I know there are 3 or 4 committees that deal with safety on the campus. Right? We have committees that deal with, what do you call that? I can't even think of the words. I mean, security or safety or
Emergency?
emergency. No, I was thinking more of the composting and all that. So what's that?
Oh, sustainability.
Sustainability, right? And then we have other, I mean, you have so many committees that we don't even know what they do. We don't even know whether they meet, right? So that, all that, we have to clean all that, and we document it. And then people can be appointed to those committees. They'll have standing meeting times. Like that, when you get appointed to that committee, you know exactly when you'll be meeting, so that you can inform your IMS that you will be at those committees. I mean, you can be teaching during those hours, or whatever. Alright, so. Any other questions for Ryan? SSSP, you both of them?
Yes.
Cynthia? 5 and 6, okay.
Yeah, and I have one handout that has both information. So the Student Success and Services Program report is due to the Chancellor's Office October 30th. And SSSP does not require Board of Trustees approval. It does require the Academic Senate President signature. And so I thought it would be best to share both of the plans with this group, since you are part of our shared governance group. But my next step will be to present to the Academic Senate on October 12th for a first read and October 26th for a second read. The SSSP plan, so last time we met, I reported on our progress. So in 2014-15, we had 5,080 freshmen. And remember how I shared with all of you, we're around 90% complete with orientations and assessments for all of those students. And we're around 60% complete with education plans for all of those students. So this fall, 60. This fall, we have another group of 5,000 freshmen. So now we are charged with doing the same, providing orientations, assessing the students, and providing ed plans. And now what we're responsible for is at-risk follow-up. So the 5,000 students from last year, we need to follow up with those that are at risk. And the new 5,000 students, we also have to do the 3 core services and provide follow-up for them. And so in order to do that, SSSP pays for the following: 5 permanent tenured counselors, 5 classified positions, the dean position. We have 20 adjuncts, career center advisors, because one of the at-risk groups is undecided, undeclared students. And guess what's the most popular major students list on the admission application? Undecided, undeclared. It's the most popular major. And then we have college assistants. Sorry? Oh. Then the Student Success Navigator, it's a tool that we piloted last year. Counselor Cecile Davis Anderson, she piloted this tool so we could figure out, of the 5,000 students, who are high need, medium need, and low need. And so we did a pilot with 1,000 students. Now we're growing it to 2,000 students will be taking this assessment so we can figure out who we should spend more time with. And then which students are independent and can just navigate the systems and processes and resources on their own. So here's what we want SSSP to also pay for, and this is what you'll see on the report at the Academic Senate meetings. We want the college to have, and students to have, an additional evaluator. At this point in time, we have 2 classified staff in admissions and records, and they are responsible for reviewing all transcripts and all grad petitions from students. We need an additional person to help with that effort. And then I'm also trying to bring in technology to assist with that, because ever since I started working here 7 years ago, I think that it's a disservice to students that they enroll and submit a transcript telling us where else they've taken classes, but we don't evaluate them until they've finished 15 degree applicable units at the college. And I know the students want to know, well, the class I took at Glendale, what does it count for here, and what should I not enroll in here? Because I may have already taken care of that requirement. So an evaluator would help. We also lost a retiree, not last year, the year before, in counseling, Nancy Martinez, and she was a data controller. We want to pay for the upgrade of that position to be a business analyst to help collect all of the SSSP data, because all of this data has to be reported to the state. And here we see the first version of the state moving into completion or performance-based funding. We do not get our money until we prove that we earned the money. And that's why we have to keep track of how many freshmen did we provide services to. And so a business analyst would help us ensure that we collect the data to submit that to the state. Also in outreach services, we currently have 1 staff member to go out to all of our high schools and middle schools. And for a school our size, we have 26,000 students this fall. For a school our size, and we did 450 events last year, either community events, application workshops, financial aid workshops. We need another staff member to help with that, and it would decrease the number of college assistants we would hire to do that. And then in the assessment area, we have test proctors, and they've been doing more than test proctoring. They've been helping students understand that, did you do your orientation? And after you do your test, you need to sign up for Pathways, or you need to get your ed plan. So they're helping the students see more of the process than just preparing them to take the test. So we want to take a current vacancy from a retirement. Instead of posting it as a test proctor, we want to create a SSSP specialist position. And then we are anticipating another vacancy due to a retirement, and so we would want to convert that from test proctor to SSSP specialist. And that's where we're at right now with SSSP. I will tell you all that we may be looking at some ITS needs that students may benefit from, so we will consider that. But we are only looking at things that will help us to orient students, assess students, help students get ed plans, or help prevent them from being at risk. So that's what we're doing with SSSP. Are there any questions about that? Yes, Bob?
How does all of that lead to completion? How do we,
Well-
we're doing a great job of getting them in and getting them started, but how are we, and it's a rhetorical question.
The focus of Triple SP are the 3 core services and follow-up services. That's the state mandate. So that's why they collect this specific data from us. And I believe the whole rationale that the state moved in this direction is because research shows that if students start right, they're more inclined to finish. So if they are oriented beyond just technical information, if they take English and math placement, the idea is they'll get an English and math class. And research shows that when students take English and math their first year, they're also more inclined to finish.
So the student success dollars are predicated on the fact of completion, and the state is pumping millions and millions of dollars into this. 2, 3, 4 years from now, they're going to come back and they're going to look and see what did all that money result in. And if it hasn't resulted in a significant bump on the bar, then that money will disappear. So we as an institution have got to focus, the state's got to focus on completing students. So we've got to, I think we have to start putting some real emphasis on spending money that
Well,
is
I think that, it's great that we had nearly 3,000 of our 5,000 freshmen have ed plans last year. This year, if we get, let's say, 4,000 of our 5,000 freshmen with ed plans, that's 7,000 students at the college with an educational plan.
But
And
it's
then
like-
we can help them stay on track to complete their
You
classes.
know how we have success coaches for the Pathways program? It's almost like we need success coaches for
All 5,000.
all 5,000 students to stay on them and help them get out of here.
Yep.
And then to help enrollment management, schedule classes that will get them completed and moving on.
Yes.
Can we do all that?
Sorry?
Can we do all that?
Yes, we can. This fall, for example, September 9th and 10th, the counselors are having their final training to use this product called DegreeWorks. DegreeWorks is a tool where we can keep track of what students have completed which requirements and which requirements are left to complete. We're going to use it internally from September through December to make sure it works right. And then if all goes well in January, we'll turn it around to students. So imagine, Kelly, you'll be able to log in and say, you're going to be an entrepreneur, and I'm not sure if you've picked CSI or business as your major yet. We talked about it extensively, and you're still trying to figure it out. But you could log into DegreeWorks and you could do a what if. Well, what if I want to do computer science? How many classes would I need? How many have I already taken, and what would be left? What if I wanted to do business? You could run scenarios, and then you could run your plan for what you want to do. And then you could work with a counselor to commit yourself to your ed plan and keep track. And then Dr. Scott could make sure we schedule classes for students, let's say in the top 10 programs based on ed plan data.
Now, let me put a spin on that many colleges have done already.
Yes.
When she's looking at that, let's say, a couple of weeks before our fall schedule comes out, and she does that what if scenario. What many colleges have done, and those of you who've watched the Sherpa from South Orange County,
Oh, yeah.
when she looks at that, it will tell her, okay, those classes that you will need will be offered on the following days, at the following times, and these are the textbooks that you will need. And it takes you to the next page, that you can purchase your books right here, or you can rent your book right here.
Yeah.
It does all that. Will our system be able to do that?
Sherpa, the system that Dr. Verdian is talking about, is a homegrown product. So they had
It's available on the open source now.
Right, but it is homegrown, so
Yes.
we would have to look at, first we need to implement DegreeWorks
Right.
in its vanilla version, and then we can put the sprinkles
Okay.
and nuts and cherry on top and whipped cream once our students and everyone gets used to using the baseline version.
Now, the next thing is we have to, one second, Julia. The next thing is we have to do the reporting, because our funding will be based on the reporting that we're doing on Triple SP.
Yes.
Are we capturing everything that we need to capture? The counseling hours, the this, the that, and so on, and that we are reporting the right thing so that we don't lose on that.
Yes, we are. We did an extensive job manually this
Okay.
year to ensure we collected all of our data. Manually. And what we're working on for this next reporting year is to have a business analyst assist us to collect the data electronically.
Well, we should have been, we have Banner, we should be able to be collecting that.
Well,
Okay, all right. We will ask that Dr. Miller will work with the team to make sure that this happens electronically, because this doesn't really make sense. Judy was waiting for us.
My question is, that's great
yeah.
to get them out of here,
Mm.
but a lot of them need to go to the next place.
Yes.
And depending on what the next place is, that has 20 iterations.
I know. Yeah.
So, like a
yeah.
real life example, I have one here who wants to do econ and he wants to do it at USC. And USC's trajectory for what he does here is completely different than the UC or the Cal State. And so now we have to look at 3 different plans at the same time. And lucky for him, he has this at home doing that
Yes,
for him.
Yeah.
But if we could have a computer program that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
That program exists already. That program is being used in many places. Do we have it here?
We don't have it here. What Julie what her children would have to do is create a plan.
Oh, no, Judy is not the only parent. with-
Right, yes, or
We-
what
we have,
students would have to do.
thousands of
They
students,
would have
yeah.
to work with a transfer center
Ah.
or any counselor, any of our general counselors, to create their what-if plan for their 3 different schools. And usually.
I thought that is available already through the Chancellor's website also.
Well, assist.org is for
Yeah.
UCs and Cal States, but for private and independent colleges, it varies. The safest bet is to follow the IGETC curriculum, which prepares a student usually for a UC and a private school. But it is true that there are many differences. Let's say I just saw a student on PCC book sale who was interested in going to Pomona College.
Right.
Pomona College entrance requirements may not be covered by IGETC, so
That's good.
somebody has to help that student with those particular.
The transfer center step, that's what the
Yes.
transfer center steps
Oh,
in.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
why we're, number one in
And they should be able
APs.
to do that at the
They
transfer
do.
center.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Joe?
2 things. One, to answer Bob's question, just anecdotally, I know the students coming into our office, since last year, I hear now, I want to get an AA in. Before there was just, I want to study this or so. So they're coming in more directed with a goal.
Yeah.
So I just am seeing that anecdotally. I don't have.
Well, they have to, but there's a lot of pressure on them to do that too. They would lose their financial aid. They are not going to be getting, I mean,
But I think
the state has made that very clear. They will lose their priority. There are
Yeah.
so many things that they will lose if they don't do that.
But their
Yeah.
orientations. I
Yeah,
think,
and
really
that's what I explained last time.
Yeah.
So there's carrot and sticks for schools and
Uh-huh.
students. Our carrot is we'll get paid
Right.
our full allocation of $2.9 million a year. Our stick is if we don't prove that we provided the service, we
Mhm.
lose some of that money. And each
Right.
service, there's a percentage of funds attached to it. So the biggest bang for our buck is comprehensive ed plan. That's
Now,
35%.
The next question is, will we have spent all our money by the deadline?
Yes, we will.
We will.
Yep.
Okay, but then there's another pot that needs to spend before December also.
That's what we're talking about next.
Okay, all right.
Just
Joe?
one last thing, talking about measuring.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim, sorry.
Measuring success. I wish we could get better data on transfers as well as degrees, because a lot of students transfer without getting the degree, and we just don't get that. I don't
The
know.
transfer, we receive that information.
We do, we
Not,
track it.
for the private schools, it's a bit harder, but for the public schools, we receive that data.
We do, we get the CSU and
Yeah.
UC data. Mhm.
But we've had trouble getting it.
Well,
I
you
don't
get
know
it,
who's getting
okay,
it.
Cynthia will work with you, because that
Yeah.
data is available, I mean,
Uh-huh.
the
I-
CSU data will be out in September,
Yeah,
and the
I
UC's
thought,
data are out already.
I thought
Are you talking
Gina
about
Chase,
discipline now?
By discipline, yeah.
Yeah, see, the CSU system and the UC system does not report.
They don't report
outwards.
discipline, they report transfer.
The only time we were ever able to get that data was when the California Post-Secondary Education Commission was in
Right.
full swing. The last time that data was reported was 2009-10, after
Right.
which Governor Brown pulled their funding and abolished.
But isn't there's a replacement for CPED? or-
Yes, but they don't.
But they don't produce that.
They don't provide.
They don't provide that.
The
No.
discipline level data.
Then could there be part of these projects, some kind of exit interviews or something, maybe where if a student doesn't continue, then we find out what they're doing.
And the students are usually in your division, so what are the divisions doing to approach their students?
Yeah,
That's the question I have for the divisions. What are the divisions doing to approach their majors and find out what they are doing? That's something that should be coming from the divisions, and then the transfer center can take care of that.
But we
Right.
pull all our students in capstone courses.
Okay, so that's where you should be getting that information, and then you could be sharing it with the transfer center, and then the transfer center could share whatever information they have with the divisions. Jim?
I just have a question, Cynthia. Will the evaluators be involved in the additional degree works training in September?
They are going to be in the training, and they've been testing the product as well for the past 6 weeks. Thanks. Okay, so the next pot of money that Dr. Verdian was referring to is student equity. And so this report is due November 23rd. What the pot of money currently pays for are 9 projects. Remember, last year we went through a request for proposal process on campus. 23 proposals were submitted, 9 were funded. The committee also approved and wanted an administrator to oversee student equity, and I'll work with HR on that. I've got other positions that I'm working on right now: financial aid director, dual enrollment coordinator, student special services dean, and then we'll get to this one.
You're just
eventually.
lazy.
I know. I know. And then we'll get to this one. The other is a social work coordinator. And so what I did with Julie, I sent her a draft of a social work coordinator. And so the committee felt very strongly. And remember, I've got 10 faculty, 5 classified, 4 managers on the committee. The consensus was our students have many challenges outside of their classes that we need to help them with. And if we could have somebody on campus to help coordinate social work services, so that if a student is having health issues and they need to get Medi-Cal, if they don't have adequate food and they need to apply for CalFresh, if they're having housing issues, can somebody be on campus to navigate them towards shelters or to use the housing authority process? So in order to prepare us as a campus to get there, to have these services available, I did purchase a software product called CareLink. And what it does is it uses geographic information system technology to plot out where are these services based on where the student lives. And so you just put in the student address and it says, here's the homeless shelters, here's low-cost legal, here's a free cell phone service, things like that. And Carol Calandra out of the Veterans Resource Center, she has agreed to start the pilot of it this year until we get the social work coordinator hired. We're also paying for the Diane Goodman Equity event that quickly filled with 60 people participating. And so we're thinking of doing a second event to make it available for more faculty and more staff and managers. We're paying for Flex Day because there's an equity theme to Flex Day. And then this summer, we did a couple of demos for a product we think will be very beneficial for students, and it's called Class Scheduler. It costs $1.50 per student, but what it does, many schools use it already. That, when you navigate to the screen to add your classes, many students need so much help doing that. And this product helps the student plug in, when do you work? When do you have leadership activities? When do you have to help your family? What time is remaining? And then it'll help you plug in classes that are available during your open times. Many schools use it. Cal State LA is using it. Mount SAC uses it. And so we will continue to do more demos to vet that product so we can purchase it. We also have many equity speakers coming to campus to provide professional development, and we're trying to think of a way that if, let's say, Julie went to 5 events, maybe at the end of the year we can have a recognition for people who are interested in equity, and we can say they earned a certificate or something like that. And that could be a goal for the campus, that everyone is doing something so that we can bolster our efforts to achieve student equity. We also have many people doing mentoring on campus, but we want to streamline a mentoring program for students, especially men of color, and then create a comprehensive coordinated service learning program. And so I'll be returning here. Now, the student equity report requires the signature of all the presidents of shared governance groups. So classified senate, academic senate, I'm not sure if management association, but it does require the president, the chief business officer, and then equity does require board of trustees approval as well. So I'll be coming back here to do a first read on Thursday, September 24th, and then a second read October 22nd. And I would hope that on the 22nd we get approval. So first read, you'll go back to your constituent groups with info, email me feedback so that on the 22nd we can get approval. And then I'll be presenting at the Senate on the 26th, Board of Trustees November 4th, the Senate November 9th, and then Board of Trustees November 18th. And it's usually because everyone does first read, second read, okay? And then it's due November 23rd.
Cynthia, can you step back and just explain the streamlining, what that means?
Of mentoring? Yeah, so for example, Puente has a mentor component, Ujima has a mentor component. We have a mentoring program out of Student Life. It's called Project LEAP. I'm sure there's other areas that have mentoring programs. I'd like for us to have a coordinated effort across campus to have a mentoring program. Mm-hmm.
Available to all students.
Yeah, available to all students. So if we all join efforts, I think we'll cover more students than each of us that are individually doing it now.
Now, what are the measurable outcomes that we're looking at? Because the equity plan asks for measurable outcomes.
Sure.
And those outcomes we will have to demonstrate in the second year that we have implemented the first year plan and that the outcomes are being met.
Yeah.
So what are some of the outcomes that you
Sure.
have identified?
Dr. Patty Quinones is our research person, and she's
Okay.
been working with our 9 projects to create assessment plans.
Okay.
So the outcomes vary by project.
Okay.
But we are definitely measuring and assessing as we go along. And the 9 project directors, they are working on a webpage, and we're going to have an equity summit so the campus can learn about the 9 projects. And they are directly tied to achievement gaps. Now, last time I presented here last month, that there are 2 areas where in our activity plan, there's nothing new to report for ESL and math. So I will be meeting with ESL faculty and math faculty to see what is something new that equity can help with. And then those new things. And then I looked at the Fullerton College equity report because I just wanted to see what is Dr. Verdian accustomed to looking at with
No, you
equity.
don't have to.
Just to see.
Yeah,
What they
because
did-
I was there doesn't
Yes.
mean that this is what I like, you know.
But what they did there is they looked at what are existing programs funded at, and what can equity do to augment existing successful programs. So the idea is if they're already achieving a certain level of success, if you augment them, they'll achieve more success and close more of the achievement gap.
And serve more students also.
Correct. So I'll be looking at that next as well.
Okay. Bob?
From the finance point of view, everything is focused, is heading towards performance-based funding eventually, I think. And so the triple SP dollars, the student equity dollars, need to be laser focused on our strategic plan, which grows as EMP, which theoretically focuses on, again, I go back to that word completion. So as we do all these things, and I feel the same way about grants and any soft money, everything we do needs to be focused on whatever our bottom line is in terms of our completion goals. So I don't know, I know what some of these things are, but as much as some of these things might be good to have on the periphery of what we are as an institution, any available dollars we have and resources we have should be focused on whatever the completion goals are in a given school, a division, whatever the strategic plan says. And that needs to be a guiding light, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
Stephanie?
Can I just a clarification? So of the 9 projects, we all have outcomes that are related to completion, persistence,
Mhm. Right.
course success rates,
Right,
like
right.
all of those things. Are you asking them to have like institutional set standards based on the strategic plan that serves as the benchmarks for those outcomes?
We're supposed to do that anyway for accreditation.
So, well, yeah, so, because I think that could be something that we could definitely talk about with the researcher.
Yeah,
Because
right.
we've been having a benchmark conversation. So if we have the institutional set standards, then we could use those as the benchmarks. But all the projects do have that outcome. I think that what we could do is make the next step to link it to the strategic plan by using
I think of
institutional
all
set
the,
standards.
which I agree, I think of all the resources that we put into remedial education here, and
Right.
in terms of percentage of load and allocation, what have you, and we look at the outcomes, and the needle isn't moving very far in those areas. So we need to use that data to inform changes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to have separate
Right.
meetings with ESL and math faculty, because the gaps show, you know, I know, for example, Latino students, there's no gap for access, but there's gaps for moving from basic skills to college level, course completion, and then also all areas of completion, getting an AA, a certificate, or transferring. And so one might say we open a door that leads to a closed door. But this is about unpacking the experience the students
Right.
have and providing the necessary support while simultaneously working with teachers to see is there any way we can change, you know, the way basic skills is delivered and whatnot.
I mean, in many colleges and many studies have shown that in mathematics and in English, for example, some of you may be upset with what I'm going to say, that very often the placement is meaningless.
Mhm.
All right? And in many colleges, and that have done very well, they have come up with an accelerated math course that students self-place. They go into that math class, even though SSSP requires that students take the placement, right? If they can take the placement, if they don't place in the college math and they place at a much lower level, they can self-place in that accelerated math class. They complete that class, they go straight into college math. The same thing applies in English. They don't place in college English, right? They place 2-3 levels below. There is an accelerated English class. They self-place in that class, and they get their passing grade. They go to college English. That in itself, in several states, including many colleges in California, has significantly improved the graduation rate, completion rate, success rate. Now my question is, what have we done here at Pasadena City College when it comes to accelerated math class, accelerated English class? What have we done?
We have 2 projects in English. It's called Stretch Acceleration. And so students work with the assessment department.
Yes.
And it's called directed self-placement. So students are contacted if their scores are on the border of English 100, 1A. 100's below college,
Yeah.
1A is college level. And they're invited to participate in the Stretch program. That they must commit to being with the same teacher all year. And so
That's a 1-year program. Well, I'm talking of the specific class that is created by the English department.
well, I'm telling you you asked
Okay.
what is
Oh,
happening.
no, I was asking for
So I'm
doing
just
that.
telling you what is happening here.
Okay.
So it's a 1-year program, and the student gets to go, instead of doing a year and a half, they
Right.
get through it in a year. So it's shaving off 1 semester.
Is there any way we can work with our faculty to shave off 2 semesters and have that accelerated English class, which is doing very well across the state? The English faculty have created an accelerated English class. Students self-place in that class, they get a passing grade, they go straight into college English. And the same thing for math. What can we do that?
Well, this particular project was the result of a faculty inquiry group that occurred 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so there were faculty representing English, math, and ESL. And they agreed to have directed self-placement for English.
Okay.
Math preferred to stay with the traditional assessment results from AccuPlacer, as did ESL.
Then nothing is going to change because math is the biggest obstacle to graduation.
Although-
80% of the students coming to college
Mm.
play significantly. I'm sure that's nothing against you. I'm not saying that.
No.
It so happens that you're a math faculty.
Yeah.
But 80% of students do not place in college math, right?
Yeah, math,
Of about half of those students are about 3 levels below.
yeah,
They never come back. Why would they come back? I mean, they never come back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, one of 4. I convinced the students to show up and vote, the basic skills coordinator to vote, and I voted against Math 450, adding another layer of remedial.
Oh, definitely. I applaud you for that.
Mhm.
Why not have 4 levels now?
Right. But
Yeah.
I will say that math faculty have been working over the past 3 years
Uh-huh.
on various innovations, and I think the next iteration will get
Well,
even
3
better
years they've
for
been working
students.
and we still
Well,
don't have an
no, no, no.
accelerated
We
math.
have 2 programs. One is we do have accelerated.
You have,
class where
and do we offer?
We
Yes,
offer
yes.
that. It's 3 math classes kind of combined. So you
Okay.
can either place the lowest or second lowest. They can all finish as a one right
My
before
question
the-
is that can a student self-place in an accelerated math class that is 1 semester long?
Well,
No, I'm asking the math faculty.
Not-
Can a student self-place in a math class that is 1 semester long? An accelerated
Not
math?
as of now, but you have to be placed into either one of those 3 classes. So you
I understand that. I mean, that is not nothing new with that. What I'm asking is, what can we as an institution do
Mhm.
to have the math department create that math class which is so successful
Mhm.
in many colleges, to have the students self-place in that one accelerated math class in 1 semester and then pass and go on to the college level math.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not, we cannot, yes, every college has its own culture, every college is different. But math is math. If other colleges can do it, have we tried it?
If that's the case, I'm sure math faculty are very open to it. But I don't have to talk to you again, but I don't know about data. We the way that we looked at it. Placement test does better than anything else. Like if you look at one particular class success rate,
Yeah.
to my surprise,
Yeah, and I'll tell
placement
you.
test did better than like anything else.
That's why they want
There's
to
some
place
place in that class. Yes.
I will tell you, there is a tool that all students can use. It's called the responsibility waiver. They
Okay.
can place themselves where they want. I have had the experience, however,
How
of a
well
math teacher
broadcast
coming
is
in
this?
my office with a student saying, who allowed him in my class? Because he's not prepared, he's not doing well, he's not doing the homework, and he doesn't understand the concepts. And I said, well, I'll check, and hi student, you're gonna be okay, let me check. And so I checked, and the student did a responsibility waiver. They placed themselves in that math class. And so the math faculty, through reviewing the data, would prefer the AccuPlacer over self-placement.
No. What I'm talking about is that is called an accelerated math class.
Yeah.
It is a different class. It is not your what about your sequence is. It's not. It doesn't. It is not
Yeah.
something that we have. It's just that is a specific class.
Mhm.
They have it also in English. They do that in English also.
Yeah, that's why this
Yeah.
semester, early on, I'll be
Right.
meeting with math and ESL. Mhm.
Right. Okay. I think it would be good. I mean, that would be a service that we would be providing. You have something to say.
Yes.
Oh, it was a question. I was
Yes.
curious, when you talk about these accelerated classes, is there data that talks about, or I guess shows how these students fare in their next class? Because maybe completion rates have increased.
They
because
do
they're
well.
getting-
There's fine. I've absolutely no problem with it.
Okay,
They do fine.
so they do like well
Yeah.
in the next class.
Oh yes, they're fine.
Yeah, the state of Florida did away with
Oh, yeah.
placement tests
No
altogether.
placement test at all.
And their success
Yeah.
data has gone up.
New Jersey has done the same thing. Florida has done the same thing. And many colleges in California have done that. Many community colleges, and they're doing fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question.
Right. And on top of that, there is also something called a math for the liberal arts.
Thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
You know?
We have that.
We have that.
Do we offer it?
They created it in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
It's a project, right?
You know, but because not every student is going to be using
We actually
differential equation.
now we're offering about 10 sections.
Yeah, you go. Yeah, so.
And Jay has a TV show called Slam TV,
There you
which
go. Yeah.
explains math
But
concepts.
it is important that we come up with, that we remove the obstacles, that we remove the barriers that prevent our students from graduating.
I think there are 2 points here. One is to use the data to inform the decision making,
Right.
and 2 is to pick a point in time where a pilot is no longer a pilot, it should be institutional, and run whole, which requires some institutional will to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But again, using the data to substantiate not just our data, but other data from what you're articulating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as Cynthia was saying, we have many states that have implemented that very well.
And if we don't do it, it'll be imposed upon us anyway.
It will. Oh, yeah, it will be imposed upon us. I mean, the state will do that to us.
And that math class for liberal arts humanities major is actually accelerated too. So instead of going through 3 steps,
Right, you just go straight into that.
It's only 2 steps.
Yeah, so that's
we're cutting
good.
down.
That's good. At least we'll be serving 10 sections, you're serving 350 students.
How many sections per semester do you offer that?
This semester I think it's a little bit more than 10 sections.
Okay.
We started as first year as
How many total math sections is what would you guess?
Or 200 math sections. probably.
Yeah.
I bet 300, 400.
Okay, you go.
It's just a matter of getting teachers to
Yeah.
teach the class.
Yeah.
Because we also have to put ourselves in the shoes of those students. The student comes there having spent 12 years in the K-12 system, right? And then you tell the student, you know what? Your level of math is so bad, you will be doing arithmetic.
After pre-calculus,
Huh?
after they've taken
After they've
pre-calculus.
taken
Yeah.
pre-calculus in high school in 12th grade,
Yeah.
you'll be doing arithmetic. Do you know what kind of insult that is? And that arithmetic class, I mean, I'm saying arithmetic, it's a little bit more than that. But it's like more like 6th, 7th grade math. Not even that, and they have the whole semester of it. They finish that, they go to the next one. They finish the next one, then they go to the next one. Then they get into the college math if they are lucky. By then they say, well, I'm done with that.
Where is it, like 3% make it to the end?
Yeah.
No, but 3%, yeah, you know, yeah. So that's why equity will come in and help. Right?
Yeah, and I do want to end just by saying next week you'll see a series of emails and posts online
Right.
because we want to inform all students. There are around 3,000 to 5,000 students on various levels of academic and progress probation, and the students have 2 semesters, fall and spring, to get off of that. Because next fall, then you'll lose your Board of Governors grant, and we
Yes.
just want to make sure all students get some kind of service to help themselves get off of
Right.
probation so they don't lose their grant. Okay?
Okay.
And that's all. Thank you.
Announcements. We've got plenty of time to announce. Deborah?
The classified senate had our officers elections on August 5th. So I'm the classified senate president now. My buddy Jeff is treasurer. Jeannie's vice president, so she'll be doing the committee appointments. In addition, we have Graciela as secretary and Felicia Mitchell doing the board of trustees. So we've got a full board and a full year of stuff planned. We did our retreat, which was very successful on the 21st. And so we're ready and ready to go.
Now you'll be at the board meeting from now on, right? Jim?
That's Felicia.
Oh, Felicia.
Yeah.
All right.
I get to make the committee appointments.
All right. Next announcement. We go down this way. No. This starting with Joe. No announcement. Well, do we hear a motion to adjourn? Yes, Bob.
I think it's important personally to thank Dr. Lebo, for counselors, for staff, for the Herculean effort for Triple SP and student equity, and the numbers that she presented today. I know we kind of grumpy, but the reality.
Oh, no,
it's
student success should make us all, yeah.
Energized.
All right. Well, we adjourned already, right? Okay. Did we move a second? Okay, good. Nobody will propose the adjournment, right? All right. Thank you.